and Mexicans, you might as well shoot them all. Otherwise, you're in America, and we're all going to mix, and we're going to like it. And if you don't like it, the fuck out. That's what I say. Yeah, it fits my personality well. America's a great country for me. I'm glad I was born here. I like the idea of kind of being forced to get along with other races with giving women equal rights, which they still don't have yet, but they're coming along. And, I grew up with 4 sisters, and it never seemed fair to me, the way women were treated in the workplace. And, when it came to like sports games, oh, nobody ever picked the girl. Well, you get a Ronda Rousey now, and you might just get the girl pick. She says she can beat Floyd Mayweather in a no-rules fight. I don't know about that. Yeah. Ronda Rousey is the one woman I would kick directly in the vaginals. I would have to. She'd try to kill you. Have you seen this little girl? She's like the Tasmanian devil on crack with moves. You can't just spin. You can't just... I mean, you got to have moves, plans. And she said the other day that she makes more money per second than Floyd Mayweather Jr. I believe it. She probably could do math, unlike Showbilly. Yeah, well, listen to his math show and use your brain. You'll see what happens when a 100% marijuana-stoned Canadian tries to do math. It's quite hilarious. But why would I pick on him for that? I was an English major. We'll try for Ramzy again, see if we can get him. He may not be ready. He may be pooping. And when people poop, I don't mind it if you talk to me from the toilet. I mean, that's acceptable. But it's a little uncomfortable for me, especially if I'm hearing the I don't want to hear all the, especially when it echoes, like in a public bathroom. Yeah, that's unhappy times there. Well, Ramzy's still not ready. You're officially late, Ramzy, and that's going to cost you. Yeah, that's going to cost you, Ramzy. Sorry to say that. Oh, let's see, the photo for this particular episode. Let's see, who is that? That's actually Barco. I don't know if you guys knew, but he is a toothless Asian guy. And, but he does have dentures so that he can enunciate. And, that's cool. I mean, it's America, right? Melting pot. We take the toothless Asians and everything here. It's like a blender, really. I heard someone say up in Northern Virginia, and they call that the actual mixing bowl. But I think that's more accurate. We're mixing bowl. Cultures aren't blending that well. We're separating ourselves. You've got your wealthy whites. You've got your ghetto blacks. You've got your middle class suburbia, where you typically have white property values rise to push out blacks. It's a very subtle thing, but that's what they do. And how fair is that? I mean, do you care about fair? I mean, if you support capitalism, it's very hard to care about fair in a business setting. So, and that brings me to Donald Trump. Oh, my motherfucking God. Well, he's going to stay. He's going to be here. And it wouldn't surprise me if he does get the nomination, now that I think about it, because the right is so angry that there may be a black curly hair in the White House shower when the next president comes in, that I think they would punish with Trump. Now, to me, Donald Trump's a tough guy, or at least he acts like one. I've never seen him have to be tough. It's easy to say you're fired when you got a lot of money and power. That's easy. What happens when you come under real pressure? He's shown me that he has very little restraint. So, the silly stuff that he said and giving out phone numbers and stuff like that sounds rather trolly, really. So that's not real professional, and I'm not sure if he has the kind of composure we would want to send to some sort of international meeting of any value. But he would be a tough guy. Maybe people want tough now. Maybe that's what they want. I mean, do you think that's what we're lacking in America? Tough leadership, though? And do you think someone who's lived their entire life just about in extremely high wealth will understand the average American? That's always been a concern of mine. But presidents aren't that important. You know that. The gears turn with big business in Congress. And you may not know it, American, but there are 3 things that make this country go, and 3 things only. One is wealth. The wealth basically calls the shots, along with their good friend from across the way, the military-industrial complex, a very hungry machine that chews up 20% of your budget every year, some necessary, some not. I would say about half not necessary, but once you start this machine up, it does not want to slow down, because just imagine why. Imagine you were one of the contractors, and you were making plates to go in the tanks for battles, and all of a sudden the war was winding down, and you didn't have a backup plan, you're going to want to keep that going. You're going to support war in any way you can. You're going to be happy when you hear there's blood in the streets. Who was the stock market guy that said, when there's blood in the streets, that's when I buy? Yeah, I don't know. Wolf of Wall Street. We had Dr. Nuccitelli on last week talking about how you could probably find more psychopaths on Wall Street than in any other concentrated area of America. I think he's absolutely right. If you haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street, I advise you watch it. Was it a Hollywood creation? Yes. But I think it captured it perfectly. I mean, they don't care about anybody but themselves, number one. Number two, money over all. You don't have to have honor. You don't have to have tact. You don't have to have class. You do not have to be honest. You can just do what you have to do to get wealthy. And that's a win. Does that sound like a win to you? When you're on your deathbed, you got a bunch of money. I'm thinking of someone like Jack Nicholson's character in the Bucket List. Was he a happy guy at the end? Maybe at the very end, yes. But up until then, he had all the money he could use. He could burn it. But he wasn't happy. He didn't, and that happens all the time. One thing I've noticed with wealthy people is how they like to pinch pennies. Have you noticed that? They tend to be good penny pinchers, savers, and not very giving. It's unusual, unless you have someone like a Bill Gates that has ridiculous amounts of money. But then you can just ask yourself, what percentage are they giving away? You take somebody like a JFK who gave his entire salary to charity every year. That's given from the heart. It's kind of hard to argue with that. Of course, he had other ways of making money, but when someone's given from the heart, or you have somebody like a Floyd Mayweather Jr. that says, I give millions to charity, and when you work out the percentage, it's like 1%. That's not a big deal. Not when you're a gazillionaire. Yeah. All right, Ramzy, I'm going to try you again, you little bastard. He says he's online. Send a video message. No, thank you. Maybe I have my line set up wrong. Let me check real quick. Audio settings should be set to line 2. It is. We're looking good. He'll be on in a minute. So yeah, I'm trying to get the show steered back to either intellectual or comedy. That's what I like. It's what I do. It's what I know. I've heard that there's a few ways you can go on podcasting. I was thinking about this earlier. You've got about 3 major things you can do. One is you can imitate the pros and seriously do a serious show with notes and coordinates out in the field and all of that. 2, you can get into something like the Spreaker Ghetto Wars, and those of you that have been around a while know exactly what I'm talking about. Or 3, you could take something that's a specialty, something that either, it may be done fairly commonly, like comedy, and really laser sharp focus on that, like a Louis B., but he does interviews too. Or you can it could be anything. You're a computer expert, so you do computer shows. So you're getting your focus narrowed there on your specialty area. And I was thinking about that, and that's what this show does. I mean, the ultimate outcome of comedy and tragedy really is truth. Some of them comfortable, some uncomfortable. But where I stop short is when you get into the ad hominem. I don't find value in that. Could I attack people all over this network? Oh my God. If you knew half the shit I know. But it doesn't sound fun to me. It feels very childish to me. For some reason, I guess I'm growing up, maybe finally at 43 years old. I don't know. But I insist on having some good comedy so we can have some fun. And sometimes I'm forced to go to YouTube. Sometimes I get a guy like a Ramzy. Let's see. All right, Ramzy, you're losing. I'll call Kelly. Kelly missed a bus earlier today and has had to catch a different one, I think.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, Miss Kelly. I can't accept video, or it'll destroy my bandwidth. How are you this fine evening?
I'm fine. How are you? I'm kind of excited that you can actually hear me talking through my laptop and it's not hooked up to my mixer.
It does sound good. Let me make sure that it's coming through on the show real quick before we get deep into it. I want to make sure I hear your voice.
Let me close my window or else you're going to have a lot of street noise.
Okay. Yeah, it's working. Yeah, I have a mixer too and a microphone that a guy sent me, and I found out later that he was like a really bad troll and an asshole, so I can't use it anymore. So I'm deciding whether or not I want to send it back to him, which is probably what I should do, or give it to like a disabled veterans group or something like that. But I'll never use it again. So,
Okay,
but
also, I will be plugging in the headphones,
okay,
or else you're going to be hearing all sorts of noise like my fan and shit,
yeah.
and feedback.
Where are you from, if I may ask? Remember, I know for those of you listening here, Kelly is a friend of Ramzy's. I hardly know anything about Kelly. Can't wait to get to know her, but we're going to have some fun tonight. So where are you from, Kelly?
I am in New York City, but I grew up in California.
New York City from California, and Ramzy
Yeah.
is from Chicago and lives in LA now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I talked with Ramzy just before he moved, and he gifted me with a lot of comedy biographies.
Yeah,
well.
he sent me a couple of books too. I love him like a brother, and he's my only real link to the Middle East. You know, I like to ask him questions about Jordan, and here he is, an Arab Christian, which must be and short.
Yeah.
So he's facing many challenges out of the gate, especially with identity.
Well, so am I. Well, look, I'm 5 foot even, so I know exactly what he's going through.
Aha. Okay. So what do you do?
Because I'm just tall enough to go on some of the rides at Disneyland.
Oh my goodness. What do you do? Do you like to do
I
comedy
just
too?
meet the height requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because comedy is hard.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I've never been good at it. I've tried it, but I could testify that the times I have tried it, What's that?
Well, I think Ramzy, I think, will agree that what happens is you die because you try to be funny.
Mm-hmm. Is it true what you say about comedians that a lot of comedy comes from a place of sadness? Do you have sadness in your history? And I won't be specific. I'm just asking if that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Why
Upheaval,
is
change,
that?
not feeling. Because it's how you deal with that pain. I mean, I was lucky enough to be a street art player in San Francisco at the same time as Robin Williams was. And I didn't have as much contact with him as some other friends of mine, but even then he was coming from a place of a lot of anguish.
Mm-hmm. You could tell. I could tell sometimes in his acts, and he would go on these. You remember when he would go on interviews and he would always be. You couldn't nail him down. He would always be doing a comedy routine. It was like he was trying to escape the serious questions. I always felt when he was in an interview. Did you ever get that impression of him? Like he just didn't want to talk about his childhood?
Yeah. Because yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he had a bad childhood. I just think that there was. He was dealing with substance abuse too, which also feeds from like depression or some sort of pain that you want to bury.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I never really knew him. Peter Sellers was my second cousin, and even he admitted on the Muppet Show that he didn't know who he was.
Okay.
He didn't like being Peter Sellers. He did not like being Peter Sellers. He always had to be a character.
And that came from a place of pain as well. Do you know much about his life? Why did he have so much pain in his life?
Well, for one thing, I believe he was. I think he was. He was given the same name as a brother who died. Number one.
Okay.
So he basically was a replacement child. I don't think he ever had a real stable existence. Both of his parents were vaudeville performers, musical performers, and he just it just wasn't easy for him. He wasn't very nice. I mean, he cut off his family. He cut his kids off, but then again, he did so for a reason, because drugs.
What kind of drugs?
In fact, well, not him, but his kid.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Like the last thing my cousin was that she was she pled guilty to possession of stolen goods because her boyfriend was a thief, and she was deported. But so it's just wasn't a happy life for him.
Yeah. Do you do stand up now? Do you go to open mics or?
I don't do stand up. I do improv and safe space comedy where there's other people to take the blame.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I don't blame you. Well, you know, I love improv. I've always loved it. You know, Whose Line Is It Anyway? My favorite entertainment show of all time. And being able to come
Great